Commission for Wednesday, June 9th, 2021. Let's see if we can get enough roll or enough. I'm sorry. Let's do roll call and see if we can get quorum, please.
All right. Michael Baker. It looks like he is not here. He said he might be arriving later today during the meeting. Jesse Bank.
Here.
Todd Byrather.
Here.
Greg Francis.
Here.
Sylvia St. Clair. Tom Sanderson.
Here.
Thank you. I see you. Carol Shook.
Here.
Thank you. Tim Williams. And I see you. Clifford Winger.
Here.
Thank you. Joanne Wright.
Here.
Mary Winkus.
Here.
And Councilmember Kinnear.
Here.
Okay, and so we do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. Sylvia, good to see you. Okay, let's start with the public comment. If anyone from the public would like to address the commission on a subject not on the agenda, now's an opportunity, please. Okay, not seeing anyone. Moving into briefing session, our first item is to approve the May 26, 2021 meeting minutes. Can we hear a motion to approve, please?
Move to approve.
I second it.
Thank you, Greg and Sylvia. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, nay? Okay, or abstentions? So approved. City Council report with Councilmember Kinnear, please.
Thank you. Monday was a very long night for us. Actually, it was a very long day. And let me get my notes up here. We passed a water resolution on Monday that encouraged citizens and businesses to adjust their watering patterns to every other day, and this is voluntary. But I think it's important to note that the city of Spokane's per capita water use is 202 gallons per person per day, which puts us in the 96th percentile of water use in the country. That is significant, and we are in a drought year. And these numbers are primarily driven by outdoor water use. So everybody water your trees, but consider taking out some of your lawn. And we're looking at an odd even number. So if your address is odd, then you would water on odd number of days. And again, it is voluntary. I've been working on a suite of development incentives, and they would only apply to residential or mixed use development that occurs within a designated center or corridor, with the exception of affordable single family. And when I say affordable, about 250K that occurs in single family residential neighborhoods. And ultimately, these incentives are meant to be the low hanging fruit that we talk about that are relatively easy to fund and implement right away. Most of them the city has done before, and they were popular. Projects of citywide significance, for example, which was utilized by the former Macy's building to transform it to the M, was, as you are aware, hugely successful. My vision was to use the ARP funding to subsidize them for the first 2 years, and then we can find alternate funding if they are successful. Also, STA is issuing free summer passes to youth 18 and under. Both Candace, Councilmember Mom, and I were the ones that initiated that for the STA board. So if you have a child or know of a child that would like to use that program, they can get their free passes at the library. And let's see, we're looking beginning June 15th, and they're limited to the first 15,000 who pick up a card in person. It's regional, it's not just for the city. And then the draft sustainability action plan is now available for public review and feedback. And the subcommittee spent the last 2 years drafting this proposed update to the city's 2009 action plan. And I would say that the subcommittee has taken a holistic approach at laying the foundation for more resilient, prosperous city in the face of future challenges. This updated plan also puts Spokane in compliance with state level greenhouse gas reduction requirements. And I sent around a document to Lewis. Lewis, I don't know if you had a chance to pass that around.
We're working on it.
Okay. And maybe what at the point where you get that, at some point you can ask questions, or it mainly is taking some of the things that we as a council want to look at. And what I did was I organized it in A, B, and C. You'll see in a minute for things that we could do right now regarding housing and get things moving, things we could do in 6 months to a year, and things 2 years to 5 years, so that we're not trying to do everything at once. So, any questions? Okay,
With,
good.
I do, sorry.
Okay.
I was listening a little bit to the study session last week, and I think that's where you first introduced to the council, right? Some of the items, and it was helpful to just listen into the discussion. Am I understanding right? The only thing that would probably come in front of the commission would be something like an MFTE change that might require a map change?
No, we weren't going to look at changing the map. Some council members have heartburn over the percentages. So that 20% of affordable, and you get the 12-year extension is causing heartburn. So that is something that we're looking at. So maybe making that 50% or 30%, 20% is pretty darn low to be getting that kind of tax relief.
And then I think the commission is just getting the work plan that was adopted on Monday. Is there anything else to highlight on there?
I
The changes?
don't think so. There was a bit of discussion around some of the items because some council members had, everybody has their pet projects, right? So not everything got on that everybody wanted. There was a little bit of horse trading that went on so that we could get something to you before the end of the year. You were supposed to have gotten it in January, so apologies for the timing on that. And I would encourage you to look at it. If there's something that jumps out at you, fire off an email to me or give me a call and say, what the heck were you people thinking? But I think it's pretty much, it was a consensus with, some people going, what about my pet project? Well, that's the way it goes. So
Thank you. And I think I understand correctly, it's by resolution, so it always can be
yes.
amended.
And we can add things, and things come up during the year. It's meant to be a plan, but it's not set in stone because, as you know, things change.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Community Assembly Liaison Report. Mary, please. As you're walking away.
Oh, my computer was dying, so I had to go find the plug to plug it in. Here, hold on just a second. Before I lose you all. Okay, now I think I'm back to having juice. I don't have a lot to report. I submitted my report. Maren was there to give the housing action plan there. As far as I recall, Greg, you may recall something else, or Cliff, but I don't think there was too many questions on that. So I think that's all I've got.
Okay, thank you. President report, I don't have a lot. Maybe it's surprisingly been quiet since our last hearing, and we're picking up today. although I know council and staff have been busy. Just a quick note, Greg and I, and Lewis and Chris Becker just had an opportunity to meet with the mayor, which was great. And the first item we talked about was how can we improve or adapt, or not that it needs to be, but how we recruit commissioners. So I think that's been something we've been talking about for a while. So let's keep thinking about that. And again, we've always taken a hands-off approach in the sense that it's obviously at the privilege of the elected officials. But if they ask, how would we contribute? Would be my question. So no answer needed today. Otherwise, I look forward to our continued hearing today. I think everyone noticed that public record is closed. We'll talk about this when we get into it, but that's why we're able to go at 2:30, because we're not engaging with the public today. So that being said, I think that's it. We'll hand it to Cliff for the Transportation Subcommittee report, please.
Yes, the Transportation Subcommittee did not meet this month, so nothing to report.
Thank you. And then Mr. Mueller on the Secretary report.
Yeah, I think that it's timely to discuss recruitment. We're going to be needing to do that if we don't get interest from 3 members to re-up on the Plan Commission by the end of this year. Sylvia, Carol, and Greg are all up for renewal. So we will need to work with them to make sure. I will check in with them to see if they would like to be renewed and get that process started. Or if not, we will need to talk about how do we advertise and do another recruitment for new commission members. I will add that we did just before the meeting send out the updated Plan Commission work program that was adopted by council. One item was added underneath the Housing Action Plan from what you saw at the joint meeting between the Plan Commission and City Council. And that is the second item underneath the missing middle portion. And it was titled, examining the zone density and development standards to facilitate infill citywide. It was the intention. So that was added by City Council as it was adopted. Let's see here. I think that's all I have at this point.
Lewis, and maybe I'm forgetting where or Councilmember Kinnear, were the capital, I'm not remembering seeing open, in the comprehensive plan, the capital improvements chapter. Am I saying that correctly?
We do have a capital facility chapter.
Facility, yeah.
Where we try to list, at least in the transportation side, the major 20-year projects. The city, we do run through the Plan Commission every year, an update to the 6-year transportation program, and also the citywide 6-year program. That's for all planned capital projects throughout the entire city on any subject comes through the commission for an update every year. And that we'll actually have a quick update on the citywide 6-year program at the next Plan Commission meeting.
But am I just forgetting that those were on there? Those have always been line items on there. It has nothing to do with any recent discussion about water allocation. So
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, these are an annual thing. I'm not sure we always recognize them on there. That's why we put at the bottom that these are a reoccurring annual thing that comes before the Plan Commission. That's mandated by city code, state code. We've already moved through the 6-year street program. Did that, what was that, a little over a month ago. And we're bringing forward now the citywide 6-year program. That's adopted at the same time as the annual budget. That covers police, fire, everybody else, anything with any additional capital projects that are being planned.
Okay. Any other questions? All right.
If I may?
Yes, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, as far as recruitment is concerned, as a transportation subcommittee liaison for the CTAB, I'd just like to mention that we're looking to expand our membership as well from the current number to about 11. So maybe that's something we should be considering as well. I don't know if maybe we could just think about that, Louis, while we're looking to recruit for this, for the Plan Commission. The CTAB is also going to be looking to expand as well. Thank you.
We'll coordinate that advertisement. Yeah.
And what I think would be valuable, which we've never done, and again, it's only if we get asked, but what would a needs assessment be if we were asked? And I wonder if that could just be a simple 10, 15-minute little workshop item where we talk about that as a commission. Again, and what I'm referring to there is, some boards and commissions have specific representation in their membership. Yes, Councilmember Kinnear.
Whatever you all do, it might serve as a template, because this is a reoccurring problem for almost all of our boards and commissions, is trying to recruit people. It's a commitment of time, a commitment of energy, and not everybody's eager to jump in. And the other thing is, it's a responsibility some people don't want to take on. But if you all could maybe come up with a template that we could use citywide, I would jump on that. I think that would be great. So whatever you do, perhaps do it through the lens of how would this work for other boards and commissions, because it's very possible we could take some of what you all are going to decide to do and apply it elsewhere.
Good comment. Thank you.
Todd,
Yes.
that's the kind of work I used to do. So if you need any help on a template, I would be happy to work on that with whomever.
Then it's settled.
I've got a master's in personnel, so I mean, I can help on that.
No, it's extremely valuable, and that's absolutely, please. So maybe we'll make that when we have next opportunity. I haven't looked at the long-term work plan, but I saw it was just sent out, so thank you, Jackie. Okay. Well, if nothing else, thank you. We'll move.
I think I see Greg's hand up.
Oh,
I have a question. Okay. Whoa, eye roll there. Question for Louis. How's planning department staffing levels? Are all your positions filled? Are you currently actively recruiting for any vacant positions? I don't recall the last status.
So, as you all know, I'm interim planning director. So we have the planning director position yet to be filled. I believe there's work to start a new recruitment for that effort, actually. And then we have 2 vacant assistant planner 2 positions. We are in line, and I don't quite know where we are in line at the moment, with the Civil Service Department in order to go out and to build a new list for that. Our old list was old and pretty much exhausted, so we're looking to do a new recruitment for those. And then once we have a list, we can move forward. I expect it will probably be a couple more months before we will see a list, unfortunately. There is a backlog in civil service to get lists for various positions, as I understand it.
Louis, question. Is anybody talking about project employees until you can get permanent employees?
Yeah, that is a very good point. We are bringing forward here soon a special budget ordinance. We're going to ask council to capture some of our salary savings from these vacant open positions and to be able to move them to a consultant line item and to a project staff line item. So we can hire project staff tied to projects for doing implementation. Once we have confirmation of that, what we do then is we have to go before a civil service commission in order to get the project positions approved. And it has to be tied to a project. But we're hoping to put together to help resource a couple different projects with that special budget ordinance. Should see that here within a couple weeks.
Do you have to justify need because the positions are unfilled?
We do. We normally have a internal process and then an external with council of why we are doing what we're doing and to explain that. So there's always questions around that. In 2021, we did have some of our consultant funds were cut out of the 2021 planning department budget due to budget concerns kind of related to COVID and the whole situation last year. So we have, I think, locked in all of our 2021 consultant funds that we have available to us right now. And so we're hoping to replenish that. Long range planning also had one of our, would have been unfunded, but it was still on the books, planning positions cut from our department last year too. So budget wise, we're down one position going forward from what we were in 2020 and 2019. Right now, Tyrrell and I are kind of the middle managers as principal planners. We typically have, you know, it ebbs and flows, but typically we'll have 2 associate positions. We currently don't have any associate planners. We have all the rest are either urban designers or assistant planner 2s. So we're down probably to 2 manager positions out of a typical 5 within the department to cover projects. And it's been an interesting year coming out of COVID, but it's good that the city's talking about opening back up and moving forward and doing some new hiring. We had 1 retirement last year, actually earlier this year, boy. And so that created another vacancy. We were able to hire, actually Amanda's on. We hired Amanda at the very beginning of the year. Off of the last list, we had made another offer and they declined to take the position. And so that pretty much exhausted our last assistant planner 2 list. That's probably more than you wanted to know, but anyway, that's the story of where we're at and why we're here. We've chained every other staff member to their desk. We do give them food and water every 3rd day. So, and a few bathroom breaks in between. Anyway, thank you.
Well, I think it's actually really good to know, because when we look at and we question why isn't something moving forward, and we recognize that, you know, you guys are lack of management capability, but, you know, management staff, and obviously a lack of planning staff. You know, so I hope to see that rectified. I mean, it's been a long-term issue, and I don't think have you ever been fully staffed up in the last 5 years? I'm not sure if you ever have been.
We've been close, within 1 position of being staffed within the budget within the past 5 years. We've typically had more budget to be able to, and some flexibility to hire project staff too. So like back in 2019, I think we were up to about 3 project staff working on specific projects and a temp seasonal. And since that line item was trimmed back this last budget too, that's kind of hampered our flexibility there. Anyway, but I think we're going to be getting back to normal or closer to normal here soon. Very looking forward to the new assistant planner 2 list coming out of civil service. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you for that. Okay, now moving into hearing. So just as a reminder, everyone and anyone joining from the public, so this is I think it's proper, right, to say it's a continuation of our deliberation. So if everyone remembers, we closed the public record. So we took public testimony last 2 weeks ago, and there was a main motion to adopt the housing action plan, so in a second, so that we could begin deliberation. And then we had 2 initial amendments that at second as we discussed and were adopted. So that's where we are now, to my memory. We are now back at the main motion, and it's on us as long as we want to deliberate or make potential other new amendments, either to the actual plan or simply to make recommendations on a certain position or so, if we come to agreement as a commission. So that's where we are. Are there any questions? We won't take any, obviously, public testimony or input here. Staff is available to us to answer questions if you have them, or if you want to review anything in the plan or with amendments or so forth. Maren is here as the project lead, and Lewis and Terrell, and anyone else. Is there anything you'd like to say before we get going?
This is Lewis. I think you covered it, Todd. We tried to have in the minutes exactly what has been motioned and approved already. And so we have those documented in there. And, you know, I don't know if anybody would like to share their thoughts on the commission. I try not to do this to influence anyway, of where we were headed as far as discussion where we left off.
Anyone from staff or from commission?
From commission.
Oh, okay.
Since it wasn't acted upon, I don't like staff to do that because it can tend to.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, that's good. Well, with that, I think we can just open it up. Any commissioners like to lead off on after just thinking about our conversation 2 weeks ago, or how you'd like to approach this? We can put up a strategy here. I think the assumption is, or hope is, that we get to we take action today, so we can move this forward.
That is our hope. I know council's anxiously waiting for this to be before them with the plan commission recommendations so that they can continue to dialogue about it themselves and get some of these implementation steps underway.
Yeah. Greg, please.
Sure. Yeah, I'm always willing to kick it off. I'll just say, you know, I really like what the Housing Action Plan says, and I know that when we've looked at some of the public comment with concerns about, you know, lack of action, or just concerns about it potentially going back for further revision. I certainly don't think that's necessary. I think what we have in this plan is we have a lot of potential actions on the table that we can take, both in the narrative and in the implementation matrix, that can be considered. And it's going to be incumbent upon us, once this plan is approved, to really step up and move forward with it. I think all the tools and all the information is here. And I think the two amendments that we made 2 weeks ago address some of the shortcomings of what's in the plan. But, you know, I'm good with this moving forward. I mean, I'm certainly more than willing to entertain any amendments that anyone's willing to consider, but I think this is a plan that's well written, and I think it's worthy of approval.
And Greg, I think I know what you mean by saying shortcomings. I think I might word it differently, because I don't necessarily see them as shortcomings, but rather just what I've been thinking a lot about is, from a council perspective, how can we as an advisory board give a little bit of commentary around, you know, what decisions they would have to make. And I think that starts to address it. You know, this debate about modeling and so forth is maybe we, you know, if we had a positive effect, it was to diffuse a little bit of that, to say, you know, here's the breadth of the stakeholder, you know, views of extremes of models and so forth. But really what we, you know, going forward, the next actions with the city are to now assess what scale each one of these measures is going to address. And so I know that's what you meant, or maybe you don't agree with that, but I don't want to call it shortcomings, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'll agree. If there's going to be anything that I would consider a shortcoming, would be within the implementation matrix itself, that some of the more heavy lifter items are not within the implementation matrix, they're embedded within the narrative. And I'm going to accept that for what it is. I wish there was a little bit more meat to the implementation matrix, but I think everything's in the plan itself. So
I'd like to circle back on that, because that is something I maybe would like to propose, but we don't have to do it right now, is including more in the implementation matrix. But let's hear from other viewpoints first before we get into nuts and bolts. That's okay. Oh, I'm sorry, pointing at my screen. Tim, why don't you go ahead first, and then Jesse, please. I think you're muted, Tim. Tim? I think you're muted. It looked good, though. No, we're still not hearing you.
I think his microphone may not be working because we have him unmuted here and we're not
Oh.
audio.
Do you want to recall in or try to call on the phone and we'll circle back? Okay. All right, Jesse, you want to fill in there?
Yeah, sure. You know, I think in large part I want to echo what's been said already. I think there are choosing words very carefully to not refer to them as shortcomings here, but there are some things that we've discussed that we would like to see a little bit more color around. But I think given the tenor of this document and the purpose of this document, I don't know how critical it is to deal with those details right at this second, because there's so many action items that flow from this document. Ultimately, like if this document was a set of policy actions, I think there's a lot more room to get into the weeds and really drill down on specifically what's being proposed and how it's being proposed and the pluses and minuses of that. But as Commissioner Francis has said, I think it's all in there. And I think for an advisory document and for the purpose of this document, I think it does a really, really nice job. And the devil's in the details. And I think that's really what we need. We'll need to roll our sleeves up and really come to grips with. So I think it's a great plan. I'm looking forward to advancing it on and seeing where some of the priorities from council begin to fall out.
My microphone button, by the way.
There we go. Go ahead, please.
I had Zoom mastered, now onto WebEx, so sorry about that. I agree with what Jesse said. I think generally to approve the plan to move things forward so that more specific discussion can occur on the kinds of items that are outlined and for action makes sense. But I did have a couple of questions about, it seemed like there's a lot of feedback about the needs assessment just being way off the mark. And some of the public input was on that issue. So I think in approving this, we should acknowledge that. And I apologize, I missed last week's meeting and due to travel. But so I think that's one key thing, is to just say the magnitude of what we're trying to address may be much greater than the needs assessment. And then the other thing, I had just a question. There was a comment from Jim Frank about barriers to downtown housing and some of the input. I didn't know what he meant by that, and I was wondering if anyone could shed a little light on that. But overall, I'm for, yeah, let's approve this and move forward and then start figuring out what are the next steps to be working on.
Council President, this is Carol.
Hi, Carol. Go ahead, please.
Good morning or afternoon. I had a opportunity to speak to Greg in regards to his concern about forming the Plan Commission and City Council Task Force, and I understand what the ideology was, and I think that's a good thing to kind of keep things moving, and I think that would be good. But I have one question about the we're at the very end on the recommendations where it says to form a joint plan commission, city council led task force to conduct a review of all residential focused zones. Is that are we talking about new zoning? I mean, new areas? We're not talking about existing areas that is owned already. Is that correct?
Well, I'll answer that, since that was my amendment. To me, the intent of that amendment was to, I guess, add a little strength to the implementation matrix, and to go back and really take a closer look at what we currently allow in all of our residential zones, primarily, RSF, RTF, RMF, and RHD, and I know that housing is allowed in a lot of other zones as well. But really just looking at those zones for, you know, are those appropriately scaled for what we're trying to accomplish with regards to our housing needs now and into the future? So it doesn't recommend any specific actions other than to create that task force to take a deeper dive and looking at how those existing zones are currently laid out with what's allowed there. Did that answer your question?
Thank you. I think so, but that the review wouldn't encourage changing the boundaries for current homeowners, would it? That's not being suggested, is it?
What do you
So
mean
for
by
example,
boundaries?
so if we're talking about, so that would include lot sizes, is that correct, Greg?
It could potentially, I mean, it leaves it pretty wide open to consider what's being considered. Could it be lot sizes? Could it be FAR? Could it be setbacks? I mean, all those things are, you know, allowed housing types. I think it's a pretty broad stroke, and
Mhm.
it will be up to the task force to determine what specifically it's going to look at.
Okay, but I guess that my primary question is, would it, if they say, for example, decided the lot size was too large, they want to make it smaller, would that, that would not affect current homeowners, would it? And their property, would it be just for new existing properties that would be, say, for example, you're rezoning or this new land that has not been platted yet, say you're going from 4,300 square feet and you're going to cut it back to 3,000 square feet, that would be on new property, correct? I may not be using the correct wording.
And James and Lewis might be able to answer that better, but I think that's the case, that everybody, any existing parcels out there would be grandfathered in. They may be non-conforming at that point, but I don't know, Lewis, do you want to address that?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a complex. Typically, our code today allows you throughout the city to go to, unless you do some type of PUD, allows you in the single family zone to go to 4,350 square feet lot size. And you can go larger than that. So everything is grandfathered in that is larger than that in that zone. If the conversation in the future could be talking about upzoning all of the properties throughout the city to allow them to go to smaller lot size, still subject to the density, or maybe even adjusting the density eventually through a comprehensive plan amendment. It'd most often be used where there was a vacant piece of property that was large enough to subdivide, that was already occupied by a use, or on totally vacant land that hadn't been subdivided before, kind of your larger parcels. They would be most likely to use it, but you might see, say if a house was really run down and wasn't worth renovating, you might see a house torn down if the size of the lot was large enough to subdivide into smaller parcels. Or say it was a house on 1 acre and they subdivided their own house onto a lot and then took the remaining vacant piece and chopped it up into smaller lots. We see quite a bit of that through our short plat process today. And so, yeah, there's a wide range of possibilities that we would make sure to explain as the ideas came forward.
I see. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't think it would force that issue. I mean, it's not like, oh, I'm sorry, your parcel is too large now and you got to split it up. No, it wouldn't. That would not occur.
Great. Thank you.
Carol, if I'm hearing what your question or concern might be, is it a question on any, in my opinion, none of the implementation items that are proposed or presented in the housing action plan I wouldn't consider any of them to be more restrictive than what exists there now. I think all or most would include more opportunities or more options. But that said, when we talk about upzoning or, you know, zoning reform, such as reducing or eliminating minimum lot sizes, things like that, obviously everyone still has their property rights. So it's not something that they'd have to take action on. But it's fair that you're going to get immediate, you know, opinions and reactions about what their neighbors could do with their properties. So I think, you know, we shouldn't talk around this. We should just put it out on the table and know that, you know, this is going to be a big community discussion regardless. And I think that's where a lot of you know, the community's putting a lot of weight on this, because although this isn't the definitive plan of what we should do as a city or what discussions we should be having, this is an outline of options. Does that get a little bit at what you're asking?
I think the question was answered. It's if the homeowner wants to, if it comes to pass, the homeowner wants to subdivide their property, if it's large enough, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't setting something in motion that is going to force a homeowner to, if he has more than 4,300 square feet, 43,550 square feet, that he's being forced to subdivide. So I like the idea that they would be grandfathered in, and if they want to subdivide, that would be, I mean, and comes to pass, and they can do that now, I would believe. So if they wanted to subdivide and build another home or something on their property, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that they were not going to be forced, set them up to where, you know, they would have to feel like they were being forced to subdivide their property. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Well, Carol, I'm going to take your idea and write it down, because that would be a huge tax boost for the city. So we may consider that now. Thank you. I'm joking.
You're welcome. So that might be something you can put in the put online, is that if anyone wants to subdivide their property, you'd be willing to pay them for it and build a house, improve the neighborhood. That would be great. Thank you.
I think it's helpful, Carol, that, oh, go ahead, Joanne. Is that Joanne?
Yes, but go ahead, finish your conversation.
Oh, no, just a comment. I just think it's really helpful to ask questions like that, because it means others have those questions or perspectives on what we are and aren't doing. So I just would like us to be more open about those kind of concerns, you know. And even if we open, you know, well, Joanne, let's go ahead and I don't want to get us into a tangent here.
I just want to say I support this plan too, and I want to thank the staff for all the time spent on it. Being a former staff member, I know how much time all these things take, and so great job. But I agree with the amendments that were made last week by Greg. I think they kind of help, you know, ease some of the concern by some about how this doesn't reach far enough, because I think this opens the stage to have those conversations to see what options are. And so I think that's a good thing. A task force is a good thing. So I hope we move this forward. I would support it. Thank you.
Tom, did you?
Thank you. Whereas this was kind of raised before, whereas when you look at this document and you'll see some potential gaps of things that should have been included, i.e. Greg's example of the implementation of the matrix within the matrix, and the issue that I've raised a few times about the lack of voice of labor perspective, labor's perspective, which I think is crucial. This document, I think, opens up so many possibilities. I think the opportunities are so are just written within it. And I think there are so many of them that that those gaps can be filled very easily. I think if everything is approached in a comprehensive manner, which I have faith that it will during the strategic process and whatnot. Yeah, I think this is a great foundation. This plan, I think, is a great job that the staff did. So I'm going to support this, obviously.
Thank you. Would like to go next, Greg?
I'll go back. I don't know if this has anything to do with the housing action plan. It has to do with housing. You know, as Todd and I mentioned, or Todd mentioned earlier, that we had a conversation with the mayor earlier, and we were talking about various issues with housing within the city. And one of the examples I brought up on why I think that we need to really think about how we're handling housing policy within the city had to do with my employer hiring a new employee from out of the area, and their starting date is contingent upon them finding a home in the market. And we're having to push out their hiring because they just can't find a home so far that's affordable within their price range. You know, as we're going to have people moving into the area, whether we make changes or not. That's just going to happen. And ultimately that growth, there's going to be growth, whether it's in Spokane City, within the county, or within the larger metropolitan area like Kootenai County, where there are fewer restrictions on housing types. So that was one thing. And as I was thinking about it later, you know, I thought about the idea of mobility for existing homeowners. You know, I'm fortunate to own a home already. I'm fortunate to see a ton of equity grow up over the last, 15, 20 years that we've owned this home. Then I think about the idea, what if I want to downsize? You know, we're empty nesters. We want to move to another place at some point. I mean, we're not in a large home, but we could downsize. I look at the cost of even downsizing as substantial. And, you know, we need more affordable housing within our market. We need more housing types within our market. And I think to bring this back to the housing action plan, I think this plan helps set us up for some of those conversations. And I really look forward to having the actions move forward. But, you know, I look at some of the potential resistance or reluctance to really examine residential single family or missing middle housing types. And I think of existing homeowners as potentially being one of the more resistant because they already have that home ownership opportunity. They already own a home. But if they're moving from a 4-bedroom home and they want to move down to a 1 or 2-bedroom home, hopefully they have enough equity that they can make that conversion. But there are cost barriers even for existing homeowners to change whether they want to move up or move down. So it's just easier to stay where you're at. And I think housing mobility is a big factor that we should consider in the future. So just something I was considering is I think about housing way too much in my life. It's pretty sad. So that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I've had a couple thoughts. I've been tracking closely, and everything's public record with the council. I've just been monitoring their study sessions, and of course, and then a few of us have been part of or joined the first meeting a week or so ago with the Housing Action Subcommittee, which falls under the council's side and has some specific goals that are different than the Housing Action Plan, although it's it's difficult for us who are closely involved to track all of these different efforts. It's extremely confusing. And this isn't criticism, but it's extremely confusing to stakeholders in general that are being asked to come in occasionally and give input to try to understand what is the action plan versus the subcommittee versus council has a list of these things, and then to, I'm trying to better think about how we as a group can best inform, especially the council, which we're here to serve. And I hear concerns from council president, saying, well, he wishes there was a mechanism to weigh in earlier on these things, because this is really produced by the staff and then it goes to the commission, but they don't really get a chance to weigh in before that. And that may or may not be exactly true, but he's asking publicly, okay, how do we do this better? So then what it feels like is then it puts more weight on what we're talking about right now and what we put down on paper and put a vote to, right? Are we missing our chance if we don't get everything down right now and say, catch all priorities, and stakeholders feel the same, I believe. And that's what has been expressed to me over the last 6 months or so. Support for what's going on, but is this my only chance to weigh in, right? And, of course the answer is no, but it still feels like that. So I guess specifically, I know that I'm an advocate, I hope not a, activist in this realm, but for the role of the Plan Commission to take have a bigger role with talking about the comp plan. It definitely is our specific role under the SMCs, but I don't know that we're fully living up to that. And that's, I think there's an opportunity here to say we want to have more conversations in this forum about the comprehensive plan, and that is in this work. This is in this housing action plan, although it doesn't take a hard position on that. And I understand why. It's heavy on implementation. It's heavy on what I'll say is the administration side can do under our professional planners. But I wish it would say more firmly, start a conversation about the overall comprehensive plan right now, not wait until our due date in 2026, which means we would start in a couple of years. And maybe that's selfish because I won't be here. Some of us we cycle through so quickly, but that's also my concern. Regardless who's here, we cycle through so quickly. Council cycles through so quickly. I'm afraid it's really easy to just not make progress. And quite frankly, I'm starting to have concerns that it is a little more political. I'm not blaming anyone, but I can see how you can easily slow roll stuff if that was your again, not trying to accuse anyone or any party, but I'm starting to see that in the city, how the mechanisms that, and it's taken me 5 years to be fully exposed to it, and maybe I'm naive by not seeing it earlier. So that's my concern, is the role of the Plan Commission. Can we have a bigger conversation sooner rather than later about the comprehensive plan elements? And I get that it requires budget and resource and so forth, but if there's ever been a time to ask, I would think it's now. And so maybe a direct proposal or amendment, or just open for discussion before we formally put a motion in. Thank you, Maren, for when we had our last workshop, for bringing a larger implementation table, and it was on the slides, and there was more information that was pulled from the body of the document. Most of everything you pulled into those larger implementation slides, the blue, purple, yellow, green, or whatever they were, are in the body of the document, but they're not in the 2 pages at the end of the document. Mostly in that implementation table are the more direct, the policy, the code revisions or so forth that are heavy on the professional staff implementation within the comp plan, or within the comprehensive plan, and not on where we may be able to participate more in comprehensive plan reform, amendments, updates. So I'll stop there. Does that make sense to anyone? And does anyone agree or disagree? I'm not trying to whip votes here, but please give an honest feedback on that.
Todd, this is Joanne. I think that whole conversation about us trying to move the comprehensive plan conversation up it's a totally different discussion on a much bigger scale. I mean, I don't think it's for us to be saying in this plan or with this process that we're gonna change what we're doing on a citywide scale. And maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't think it belongs quite here. And I understand what you're saying, but I'm not sure this is the place for it. That's all I'm saying. And I think maybe, I don't know, Louis, if you could weigh in a little bit on that, but in my opinion, it's more of a conversation that needs to be had with the city council. In the plan commission and all the community and whatnot. And I don't think it should be sprung on us today to be making changes to that. But I don't know. Louis, do you have any ideas about that or not? Would this be appropriate?
I mean, I think the could add that to this as a recommendation. That I think really needs to be a council and administration discussion so that
I do too.
Big new ideas aren't constantly shifting resources and direction around. So it comes to helping to set a path and bring things to completion. Like I said, this item before you was kind of a result of discussion between mayor and council at the time, because we had just completed a couple years discussion around the last round of infill code items, and there wasn't concurrence, and this is my perspective of it, on what our next steps should be. And so there was time to, this process was time to take a pause and let's have a community discussion and deeper exploration of what the next step should be. And that's how we've gotten here. Otherwise, we'd probably already be working on another round of code tweaks, I would call it. But this was hoping to bring some alignment with that, this effort. So, because there wasn't at the time, a couple of years ago, previous administration, concurrence on where we should go next.
Well, but I agree with you. I think it's a bigger discussion. I think it needs some input from the council and like you say, the mayor. And so I don't know how you bring that about, but all I'm saying is I'm not so sure it's our place to be putting it here. I mean, Todd, are you talking about writing it down somewhere and saying, you know, this is what we want to do? Is that what you're proposing?
Well, I don't feel the need to necessarily make a motion here and then we put it down. I mean, I do want this. Well, I mean, it's the voice of the commission. So if it's not me as an individual, right? I mean, we don't speak as individuals anyway. That said, yes, I do feel it is appropriate. I do feel it is the commission's responsibility under SMCs and even under RCWs that not directly, you know, under RCWs, but to propose to the council that we could open up the comprehensive plan early and begin work. Now, I'm not saying we would have it done in a year. It's going to be a lengthy process, but there's nothing preventing us from starting now on a housing element or on the land use element and starting to a discussion and to work around that, because I don't see that action in this housing action plan. It says it will require this. It doesn't say you should explore this as a potential impactful action.
I think what Louis said, though, was a very good point. You know, you keep changing their workload for one thing, you know, and so you start doing something like this. I mean, it takes staff work and time. So all I'm saying is I think there needs to be a little more consideration put into it about how much time it would take, how much staff time it's going to take to do this, you know, what we're looking at. Because, I mean, just to say that I suppose it wouldn't hurt to say we want to do this, but to say that we absolutely should do it or we're going to or whatnot, I think it's a much bigger discussion, because, I mean, it's not just us, it's staff and everybody else that would need to be working on it. So that's all I'm saying, is that I think it needs to be considered a little bit better, a little bit more.
Let's go to Louis and Greg. But first of all, I want to say, Joan, thank you. I absolutely have utmost respect for your position and your far more exposure to this based on your career. So I appreciate that. But let's go to Louis and then Greg.
I'll jump in front of Greg here. I know he had his hand up first. one avenue to carry on this discussion are the quarterly Plan Commission City Council meetings, and that's a great avenue to bring up anything and everything. So I just wanted to throw that out there. That's one avenue to talk about what's on your mind. Done.
Well, and so while I think that there could be some more meat around the implementation matrix, I'm going to concur with both Joanne and Lewis on this, that I don't think necessarily that we need to include that specifically within the implementation matrix. I think in one way it's encapsulated in the amendment that I proposed, because by creating that, if we create that joint Plan Commission City Council task force, we can really set a long-term roadmap that could incorporate comprehensive plan changes if necessary. It doesn't preclude that. And I think another avenue that we have is, this new Housing Action Subcommittee, which does have some membership from Plan Commission. It has membership from a lot of different constituencies that, as an advisory body to City Council, can really come forward with some strong recommendations that might propose some of those changes moving forward. And I know the Housing Action Subcommittee, one of the documents that they're considering is this Housing Action Plan. That's just one of the documents feeding their thought process. So I think it's already incorporated either in through the amendment that I made or through other avenues, including what Lewis said with the joint meetings with Plan Commission and City Council.
So the statement I'd make, and I want people to push back on me, I know you will. I would say respectfully, yes, I understand allocation of resources, so forth. And we're all partners in this, so forth. That said, that's not our task, in my opinion. We're not oversight over how the administration and how the staff allocates time and resources. We're advisory to the commission, to the council that sets those allocations and sets direction. So if there are other levers that address the need, and we can debate whether the need is there or not, and we have, I don't know why it's not on the table, because this document is not prioritizing yet. And so to leave something off that might have the most impact, and I'm arguing for it, but not knowing there won't be agreement on that, why would that not be on the table? And I'm making a statement that I might not make it out of this body, but I do feel it is in our place on the legislative side to present that option as subject matter experts representing stakeholders, but not the professional staff. And again, reading the SMCs, literally, the comprehensive plan, in my understanding, comes from this body. And I get that the work is done by staff, but it's through then the mechanisms in the SMCs where we have technically the ability to use staff, but it all falls under our work plan allocated by the council. So not trying to do, by no means disrespecting or trying to do the work of the planning staff. But that being said, that's always been an interesting, we don't technically have direct staff, right? But please disagree. I know that's not how it's worked or felt in the past.
Staff has their am I on, or
yeah,
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so staff has their own work program that they set out a year or two in advance, and we're just talking about the shortage of planners. Some of this stuff has been driven by the Plan Commission, what they want to do, but a lot of it's driven by the time, the resources, and whatnot. I mean, to me, it seems unreasonable that you would think that staff is going to drop everything that they're doing to take on something new. I think it's the role of the Plan Commission to make sure that what comes forward to the Plan Commission is consistent with the comprehensive plan. And yes, to work on new items, but we have to be very careful about staff's time and very considerate of what they're doing because they're the ones working on it. And we, to just say, well, okay, so you're going to do this now, and say it's up to the administration and everybody else at the city to make that happen is not, I don't think, totally realistic, money-wise, and obviously they're down staff people right now, so I don't know how that would work actually, but.
Again, understand, but I don't think that's the argument I'm respectfully making. It's are we addressing the problem or not? And if we're not making recommendations that address the problem, so that council can understand how to allocate resources, that's a different question. So again.
Well, I agree, that we could have this conversation at one of our joint meetings, the need for it. And I'm not saying I disagree with you, Todd. What I'm saying is the way it's going, how it's done and how we go about doing that. And I agree with Greg. I think, the amendments that he made pretty much cover the fact that we're going to be looking into all this and that it could lead to comprehensive plan amendments. But that bigger picture, really, I think is a conversation that needs to be started at a different level and started with a bigger audience to decide which direction to go. So.
Okay.
Todd, I get what you're saying, and there's a lot of it I agree with, because I do think that I'm going to use shortcomings again. I think there might be some shortcomings within our comprehensive plan regarding land use and housing sections that need to be reevaluated. I just wonder if maybe, kind of like with looking at that disconnect between the FM numbers and the as far as projected housing needs versus market numbers, that if it just goes into the findings that Plan Commission thinks that maybe that some aspects of the comprehensive plan need to be reviewed, particularly the land use and housing chapters. I don't know, rather than embedding it within the document itself.
Well, it's in the document, and all I was asking as one action could be,
True.
There's a full implementation matrix that was shown in our workshop on the slides, and just simply attach that as additional information.
Was that a motion?
I'm hesitant to make it, but let's do it. Let's make a motion to apply, add that to the document as an appendix. So that's daylighted. I mean, it's public record. It's obviously they could pull it down, but it's just to emphasize that was part of our workshop, and we particularly focused on the blue, the section 1 or whatever we called it, strategies A or whatever. However that was presented in the document.
Can we see what that was? Because I know I've seen it, but I can't recall the specifics.
Yeah, Jim Richmond here. If we're making motions, I think we need to know exactly what it is being suggested.
Yep. And again, it's just to bring all of, the slides that Maren presented at our workshop into the document that gets presented in the recommendation. So it's not to directly amend the 8.5 by 11, but
make the presentation an attachment, one of the attachments to the process.
From that workshop, yeah.
Yeah, Maren, do you have it handy?
Yeah, I can bring it up. And yeah, so it's not a separate implementation matrix than what is in the plan. It was just an easy to read format for the PowerPoint presentation. So I basically just took each strategy and then the actions and just blew them up. So so it's the same
Well,
thing
I could
that's in
be
the
wrong, but-
plan.
Okay. I agree that those bullet points are in the document, but I could be wrong. I don't believe they're in the two-page implementation matrix. But
Correct.
again,
Right. They're all in
Okay.
the document, and I'm just saying that this isn't a different implementation matrix, or it doesn't. There's still the other one. This was just like for the purposes of the workshop. I just broke them down into larger pieces so that we can click through them and look at them.
I think my concern here is intentional or not, and not making an accusation, is that if a two-page implementation matrix is included without all the bullet points that are presented here, it is implying a prioritization that may be real or perceived. I don't know. I'm perceiving it as a prioritization to not put in the larger comprehensive plan bullet points.
Yeah, so this is on the website as well. So if there's, if you want to include this particular one, I guess Liz said how to be fine. It is on the website.
Yeah, I don't see a problem calling this appendix, whatever we're up to now for appendix.
H,
H, yeah.
G, what comes after G? Yeah, H.
This is the gallbladder attachment.
So clarification on the motion. You're proposing that this would be an appendix to the report?
Yes, just because it starts to remove that the existing the two-page implementation matrix is a prioritization. We're not removing that, so it's still there, but.
May I ask what this would be listed as a summary?
It's just a more comprehensive implementation list summary. Again,
Jim Richmond here, and for what it's worth, this is already part of the record.
it's posted. It's part of our workshop. It's on the website. So it's just if it doesn't go it doesn't formally go with the document. Then there these, for example, here this last bullet point is not included in the implementation matrix in the plan.
Okay, I'm gonna second this just so we can actually deliberate on it, since we're in between there.
Thank you, Greg.
The question I have for Marin is the language that's in this PowerPoint slide, is this pulled specifically from the Housing Action Plan? I mean, is it that exact narrative language, or is there any nuance to this language in here? Or is it just a layout thing?
It's just a layout thing. I mean, I copied and pasted. I think I got everything. But yeah, it's more of a taking it out of the narrative format in the plan and putting it into this slideshow format that you can look at.
This is Mary. Could this be considered an executive summary?
It's not short.
I know it's not a page, but it's a summary of sorts, right?
It is on page 25 of the plan, this particular section we're looking at. So just repeat.
Well, if it's there, then what? I'm confused.
But I think, again, if I'm wrong, just please tell me, but there are items in here that are not on the short list, on the two-page document in the 8.5 by 11.
Correct. These are all of the ideas that are in the plan. The implementation matrix was identifying what could be potential next steps given staff time, investment of resources, and, you know, timeframes.
So in that sense, it is a prioritization decision by staff in the implementation matrix, which again, that's fine. It's just I think it's important that the commission recognizes some of these bigger comprehensive plan pieces, especially since legislation was passed this year, and it doesn't, you know, some of the legislation was passed this year on the the GMA, of course, didn't make it in here because it was done while we were concluding this. But that said, it's now been directed that we're going to look at the housing and land use, especially the housing element anyway, on some time frame. So some of those bullet points are included in this bigger matrix.
You know, I think, I mean, in one way, I agree with you, Todd. You know, because I am concerned that a lot of these items are in the narrative. They're not in the implementation matrix. That said, they are in the narrative. My understanding is the entire contents of this presentation is pulled directly from the narrative. As such, I don't think it needs to be included as an appendix, because I think it's already there. And I do have the concern that the implementation matrix will be the thing that we look to ultimately, that we don't look beyond it. You know, I've seen that with other plans where people just forget what's in the narrative and they just go to that final implementation matrix. Yeah. Unless we're going to do a complete rewrite of the implementation matrix, because I think the exact same thing would happen even if this is an appendix. If it's an appendix, it will just get ignored. So I'm not going to support it as being an appendix.
Yeah, and I'm happy to withdraw the motion simply so we don't divide the commission on this, but I wanted to raise the point, and then I can save face. Losing the motion. But the bigger point is this needs to get addressed, and it does. If the commission doesn't agree that this needs to be addressed in a recommendation on the housing action plan, that's fine, and then we'll bring it up in other forums, housing sub-action committee, so forth, and it might be a 3-year thing. We might be into the comprehensive plan periodic update before it ever would gain support or just got preempted on the city by the state. So I'm fine with that. I just wanted to raise the question. So thank you, everyone. So I withdraw. Yes, Tim. By the way, I'm sorry I'm using everyone's first names today. I'm not consistent with that. Because the public technically isn't here, I started using first names, so forgive me.
That's okay, Mr. Bauer.
Good luck with that one, Todd.
The seconder needs to withdraw too, don't they?
I don't know.
I'll withdraw my second. If that's
okay. Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Okay, Tim, go ahead, please.
I was just wondering if a small suggestion is possible at this point on the implementation matrix is to just say, call it summary implementation matrix, and then it says additional detail located in narrative of the plan, so that people realize there's items that are beyond the summary matrix that are in the plan. But I'm happy with you withdrew your motion because it would just create duplication. But we want people to know that there's additional items beyond what's in the summary matrix. So maybe a little wording change, but I don't know, Maren, is that possible? And 1, and then 2, is that advisable?
I think that would sound probably like just a clerical edit on the implementation matrix itself. I can just bring that up to see it. It would probably, you know, easily be added up here under the implementation matrix. Stuck on my own screen. some language here that would probably put that under a clerical edit that we could make once the plan is finalized. We're having a running list of a number of those. Things like, you know, forgot a certain word or page number or something. So it doesn't change the content of the plan. So I think that would probably be fine.
Okay.
We can do that.
Yeah. I just wanted to, you know, point out with the implementation matrix. I mean, we tried to have language in here about, you know, potential first steps and suggested starting points. So, you know, whether or not people gloss over that, but it was truly, you know, suggestions of where to begin. So, just kind of framing that a little bit.
Yeah, we reckon in the time frame of our grant that we received, we didn't think the community was going to get all the way through into the actual picking of the next steps. And so this was what we felt like the best kind of first next steps. This plan also recognizes that there would be immediate additional dialogue immediately after on what the actual next steps would be. And that's why we kind of didn't have a fully vetted and prioritized implementation matrix, because we just would have ran out of time based under what we were under contract for.
Okay, thank you everyone for that thought journey. Okay, anything else? I see Michael's here also. Greetings, Michael.
Yeah, now that Commissioner Baker's here, you can call for the question and we can be done.
Yes, that's Michael's role. Okay, but yeah, seriously, we don't need to dwell. Anybody else like to discuss anything? Or are we getting close? Okay. Okay. Well, I think everyone's in a good position. So let's again the motion, the question at hand is motion for recommendation to the City Council of the Housing Action Plan as amended in our last hearing. Okay, with that, Jackie, can we please take roll?
All right, Michael Baker,
Abstain.
all right, Jesse Bank,
Aye.
Todd Byrather,
Aye.
Greg Francis,
Aye.
Sylvia St. Clair,
Aye.
Tom Sanderson,
Aye.
Carol Shook,
Aye.
Tim Williams,
Aye.
Clifford Winger,
Aye.
Joanne Wright.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
All right, good work, everyone, and thank you for all that. I'm curious what next steps will be from the council on that, but regardless, good luck. Good luck with staff.
And
moving this on.
thank you very much, staff, for everything you put into this. I think it's good document. I know it's been a long process for Maureen. We've been with her since the beginning and all the workshops and all the committee meetings, and thank you, Maureen. So.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, I will be setting up likely before the end of this month or into July, the next quarterly meeting between the Plan Commission and City Council. And it really sounds like this will be a major topic on that agenda. So.
Okay.
Good idea.
Thank you, everyone. With that, we are adjourned.
Thank you.